The Messerschmitt Bf 109 was not only Germany's most iconic fighter plane of the Second World War, but it was also the most produced fighter aircraft in history. Subscribe to our channel to learn the most exciting and surprising stories of the Second World War. With over 33,000 produced, this aircraft turned young Luftwaffe pilots into legends and martyrs, and shaped the fearsome dominance of the German Air Force. But while its elegant design and raw power made it a symbol of Nazi air superiority, it also concealed a fatal flaw. This flaw not only harmed Germany's enemies, but it also killed thousands of its own soldiers before a shot was ever fired. A dark truth embedded in the aircraft's design. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles was intended to permanently clip Germany's wings by forbidding it from having an air force. However, behind the facade of civil aviation and locked factory doors, Germany was secretly preparing for the next war. At the center of this clandestine transformation was an ambitious Bavarian designer, Willy Messerschmitt. His creation, the Bf 109, would become one of the deadliest symbols of Nazi air power. Radically advanced for its time, the Bf 109 featured all-metal construction, a closed cockpit, and retractable landing gear. While other nations were still flying wood and canvas biplanes, Germany had reinvented aerial warfare. The world's first glimpse came during the 1936 Berlin Olympics, where a prototype, chillingly powered by a British-built Rolls-Royce Kestrel engine, shattered the international airspeed record. The message was clear. Germany wasn't just back, it was ahead. Despite its innovations, the Bf 109 had a flaw so dangerous it would kill over 1,700 of Germany's own pilots in non-combat accidents. The problem was not in the air, but on the ground. In the quest for aerodynamic performance, Messerschmitt made a crucial sacrifice. The landing gear was mounted directly to the narrow fuselage instead of the wider wings. This created a dangerously narrow wheelbase, making the aircraft highly unstable during takeoff and landing. A slight crosswind or a bump on the runway was enough to cause the plane to ground loop, flip over, or careen into disaster. For rookie pilots, a routine landing was a coin toss. This gamble cost Germany dearly. Over 10% of all Bf 109s were destroyed in training accidents alone, and the Luftwaffe lost more than 1,750 pilots to crashes that had nothing to do with enemy fire. This fatal design choice was never fixed, remaining a persistent threat throughout the war. By the summer of 1940, the Bf 109 was set to face its greatest challenge, the Royal Air Force. Designed as a short-range interceptor, the aircraft was ill-suited for the long-distance escort missions required to cover bombers flying from France to Britain. Once over British airspace, Bf 109 pilots had a mere 15 minutes of combat time before needing to turn back. A prolonged dogfight or a moment of disorientation meant a pilot wouldn't make it home. Furthermore, German bombers flew significantly slower, forcing the fighters into tight, inefficient formations that made them vulnerable to British Spitfires and Hurricanes. By the end of the battle, over 600 Bf 109s had been destroyed, and the myth of German air invincibility was shattered. During Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, the updated Bf 109F variant dominated the skies. With its firepower concentrated in the nose, it became a sniper against outdated Soviet aircraft. This is where Luftwaffe pilots like Erich Hartmann, 352 victories, and Gerhard Barkhorn, 301 victories, achieved legendary status. However, a sinister policy lay behind these numbers. Unlike Allied pilots who were rotated home after a tour of duty, Luftwaffe pilots flew continuously until they were killed or captured. This policy created highly experienced aces, but also led to complete burnout. Many of Germany's best pilots did not survive the war, cracking from the immense pressure of endless combat. The G variant of the Bf 109, known as the Gustav, was the most produced model. It featured a more powerful Daimler-Benz DB605 engine and upgraded armament, including heavier machine guns and a 30mm cannon capable of shredding a bomber with a single hit. But these upgrades came at a cost. The added weight of new weapons, armor, and underwing gun pods made the Gustav heavier and less agile. performance suffered, making it a sluggish target in a dogfight. As one pilot recalled, "You could kill a bomber, but you'd be dead meat if a Mustang showed up." Germany was turning the Bf 109 into a Frankenstein of desperate modifications. By 1944, the situation was catastrophic. Allied bombing had crippled German industry, fuel was scarce, and most experienced Luftwaffe aces were gone. The average pilot's lifespan on the Western Front had shrunk to just a few weeks. Training hours for new recruits were drastically cut from over 200 to often less than 50. Young pilots were thrown into the unforgiving cockpit of the Bf 109 to face waves of superior Allied fighters like the P-51 Mustang and Spitfire Mark 9. The narrow landing gear, already a challenge for experts, became a death sentence for rookies. In some weeks, the Luftwaffe lost more aircraft in training crashes than in combat. As the Reich collapsed, the Bf 109 fought on from makeshift runways, a symbol of Germany's final, desperate stand. The aircraft's legacy is a paradox. It was a technological marvel that enabled some of the greatest aerial feats in history, yet it was also a deeply flawed machine. It claimed more of its own pilots than perhaps any other fighter, not just through its stubborn handling and short range, but through a fundamental design flaw that was never corrected. The Bf 109 stands as a brutal reminder that even the most advanced weapon cannot save a war effort when the system behind it is broken. It was both a sword for the Reich and a shroud for its airmen.